After weeks of Fox 11 coverage on the FireAid controversy, there's been a major development. FireAid has released records showing how it distributed more than $100 million raised after the wildfires. But Congressman Kevin Kiley, who pushed for this disclosure, says there are still serious questions. So we will ask them of him. California Republican Congressman Kevin Kiley now joins us with what he's uncovered. Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
So what is the big takeaway here? You still think that there is some reason to be concerned about the way FireAid conducted itself?
Well, I mean, I think we're still figuring that out. We've been given a lot of documents, hundreds of different documents, and we released kind of the summary documents today for folks to look at. And we really want the public to be able to take a look at this, and people who were affected, the victims, the donors, and, see it for themselves and form their own opinions as to whether these funds were used in the proper manner. So we just got the documents yesterday. This was in a response to a request that I made through the Judiciary Committee. So we've posted them now online and people can look for themselves. I will say there are a few things that just kind of jump out, at first glance. There are some grants that were given to sort of other grant giving organizations that were in the range of $5 million or $6 million. So I think there are going to be questions about, okay, so where did the money go from there? Which nonprofits did they grant the money to? Were the same controls in place for those organizations? Were the funds guaranteed to go for purposes related to the fire victims? I think there are probably some organizations on there where it's not self-evident from the face of things how the mission of that organization or the expenditure relates to supporting fire victims. And then there's also some cases where it doesn't appear the victims have received the help at all yet. For example, there's the LA Office of Food Equity, which I don't know much about them. They were apparently founded just a couple months before the fire. They received $1 million grant, and one of the spreadsheets we received shows that they're supposed to get that money to 1,800 victims, but as of the time that we received the document, no one has gotten help yet. So again, I'm not saying that any of these things suggest anything in particular was done wrong, but I think that there are many questions that remain.
Right. So Representative Kiley, let me just jump in and tell you that if other people want to read those same documents that were released from the investigation, they will be on our website, fox11.com or foxla.com. And I do want to read for the viewers this comment that was put out by Latham and Watkins. They were the law firm that did this investigation, the independent investigation, and they said, we have not identified evidence of any misrepresentation, improper use, or misappropriation of funds, fraudulent intent, or deviation from FireAid's stated mission. So you don't sound like you're as convinced that that is the case. Are you still moving forward with an investigation that you'll send to Pam Bondi, for example?
Well, so the Attorney General, Ms. Bondi, she, can make her own decision about how to proceed. I know that other state attorneys general have also made inquiries, including California's Attorney General has done so. But we're proceeding through the Judiciary Committee, which I'm a part of, and that's what these documents were issued in response to. I was also told by FireAid that the reason they did the Latham and Watkins internal investigation was in response to the calls for an investigation that I made. So the Latham report is, I'm glad they did it. They did an internal look at how things were done. And so we have their findings on that. But what we're doing is an outside investigation, independent investigation to try to get the information that I think folks want and need in order to restore trust. So we have this initial tranche of documents. We're reviewing it now, and we're very much interested in any public input as to any sort of follow-up that might be needed.
Well, in previous interviews, you mentioned a Northern California organization that apparently got some funds from FireAid. I think also that group may have returned the funds, but did you check that out specifically once you got this all these documents?
I'm not sure that these documents speak to the issue of those funds being returned, but that's something that we can look into further. But yeah, that was one example of. In fact, I was told that directly by FireAid, that there was a group whose mission really didn't seem to have anything to do with fire relief. It was about civic engagement, voting, things like that, that were given a grant, and they said that grant was returned. So, I mean, when you look at that, I want to be clear. When you look at the list of organizations there's many that are very clearly, worthy organizations that do incredibly important work, and according to the figures they have, did indeed get support to victims. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush here, and I think that now that we have this broader set of information that people can look at, we'll be able to, hopefully get more reassurances along those lines. But I do think, as I was saying before, just given sort of the broad level of some of the grants that were given, and without sort of any knowledge of who the sub-grantees were, and again, some of the other organizations where it's not entirely clear at first glance what the connection is to fire relief, there are questions that remain, and so I would expect that we're probably going to be doing some level of follow-up.
I just did sort of a cursory glance, but for sure there are a lot of groups that you recognize right away as being very well established here in Los Angeles, and clearly they were helping victims of the Eden and the Palisades fire. Is there some concern on your part that after all of this, there's no there?
Well, no. I mean, I think that the real goal here was to get transparency so that people can see for themselves what happened to these funds. And so there was, I think, questions raised not only by your organization, your outlet, but also by the Pacific, Palisades Community Council that had raised questions even earlier as to where's this money going. We're not really seeing any impact from it. And I think that, there's certainly going to be lessons to be learned here. I think that I think even the organization will probably acknowledge as to how things might have been done a little better, at least on the public communication side of things. And I think that those will be valuable going forward, especially if at some point here we're going to see some, more federal relief coming in for the fire victims, which is something that I support, that our entire delegation, Democrats and Republicans in California, support, that maybe there'll be some lessons we've learned here that could be applied there to make sure that that much larger amount of funds reaches the folks who really need it as efficiently as possible.
All right. Yeah, so we should point out that actually the Pacific Palisades Commission came out and said we're satisfied that nothing was
that's a good
misappropriated.
Sign. They were,
all right. So
raising questions before.
Sorry to interrupt, but Congressman Kevin Kiley, I have to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. And
yeah, of course.
for the rest of the viewers, if you want to see those documents again, they are on our website, foxla.com.